Hello everyone, welcome back for another video. This one here is going to be for Microsoft Access. In this video, we're going to take a look at reports, which is the final pillar of the 4 pillars that we learn in our course. Obviously, we started off with the tables and then the queries. Last time we did some forms, and now we're going to end it all off with a report. Now, obviously, reports allow us to create output from our database. It allows us to do things like a report for specific things that we're filtering through the database. It also allows us to use features that are built in that will let us do some labels if we chose to, something we can print out and do for mailers and things like that. So it's a very, very important tool and is widely used. And a lot of reports are already built in by system administrators. But we're going to learn how to do them in Access, and you'll notice it's not too hard. Not too hard at all. All right, so let's begin. The file that you're going to be looking for is the grader assignment, Aspen Falls Electricity Billings. And again, this is Chapter 4 from, I believe, Skills for Success series. And again, we don't read through the project description, but if you have the instructions, by all means, go ahead and read over. And then you can kind of get the background story of the assignment. Our goal is just to go through I believe there's 14 or 15 steps. We're going to go through those and make sure that you understand the lingo in each of the steps, and then you can apply them to other practice tests that you're going to get. Please make sure that you have the file downloaded, ready to go. I've done that already. In the zip file or in the actual assignment file, there are 3 files. One is the Access database, one is the instructions, and last but not least, there's a image file for your logo, which is going to be important, obviously. And you know logos from forms, so there's nothing new there. Step 1 says download the file, name it whatever. Again, when you're uploading these things to MyITLab or you're just keeping them for yourself, it's not typically a huge issue what you name it, so don't worry too much about it as long as the name goes in. Step 2 is where we begin, and there's a host of instructions there. Before I start doing that, I need to enable the content. So that's business as usual. We'll enable the content here, and what you'll notice on the left-hand side, you got some tables, and if you move this, click this here, you're going to see there's a query as well. So what we got to do, step 2 says use a blank report tool to create the report. Obviously, we're going to click on Create, and then when we get to the top here, we've had tables, we've had queries, forms. Now we're looking at the reports. So for us, we're looking at blank report because that's what it's asking us to do. Once we click on blank report, we need to be extremely careful with how we use our fields on the left-hand side. So I need to click Show All Tables. There should be 2 tables. As you see on the left, there's 2. And on the right, there are 2. What I typically do is I expand them so I can kind of get an idea of what's happening. Sometimes, depending on your version of Access, the system likes to play trickery on you and start moving things around. So you need to pay very close attention to this. Again, back to step 2, it says add 3 fields from the residence table. So I got to be very careful. I make sure I am looking at the residence table here. It's the second one in the list. I guess it's alphabetical, I would assume. And so that's why it's like that. But take a look at what happens. So it says add these 3 fields. It says account. So when I double click account, and this is why you got to be super careful, is account is here and account is there. And if you do it in the wrong order, if you choose it from the wrong table, it's going to mess your report up. I'm going to click it from residence. Double click, and voila, it gets moved over here. And so what I was referring to about trickery is if you notice now, the residence table moves up. It was below, but now it moves up. So be very, very careful. I don't know why it likes to throw it around and make things complicated. Could have just left them the way they were, but it doesn't. And so I wanted to draw your attention to that. It says add last name, double click, and first name, double click. So at this point, I've added the 3 fields that it's asking me to. It says then to add the 2 fields from the billing cycles table in the following order, which is cycle date and usage. So I'm going to click on cycle date down here. I'm going to scroll, cycle date. And again, see the trickery? It pops it up to the top just to make your life a little bit complicated. And next thing it says usage. So I gotta be careful, make sure I'm in the right one. Usage. And now I've got 5 fields as it's asking. It says to save the report as residence usage report. I'm gonna go to the disk at the top, click on it. It says residence, and I'm typing it in here. Be very, very careful. We all know this. If we mistake in MyITLab, they will dock us a whole bunch of marks. So we got residence usage report. I'm going to click OK. At this point, step 3, it says in the residence usage report, add a title with the text electricity usage by resident. So where we're going to go, we're going to make sure we're still in this report. And at the top here, it says header and footer. This is under the design tab here. I'm going to click on title. And at the title here, I'm going to type in electricity was it usage by, and I gotta be careful watching my capitals and all that jazz, because I tell you it'll dock us and we don't want that. So electricity usage by resident. I'm gonna make sure I didn't make any spelling errors. I'm going through this quickly, so hopefully I'm okay. Step 4 says in the residence usage report, group the report by account. So in order to do this, what we want to do is we're going to click out of here. So we're out of the title. On the design tab still, there's this grouping area to the left. And basically it wants us to group this entire report by the account number. So any account numbers that are duplicated like we see here, they're going to get grouped together. So let's click on it, group, and then at the bottom, we then have to say, okay, we need to group by account, which it's there right at the top. So we're going to click it. And perfect. So as you can see, all the accounts with the same number now are grouped together. So you don't have a messy looking report. So that is step 4. Step 5 says, in the usage report, move the last name field control into the blank cell below the last name label. And it wants us to do the same for the first name field control as well. And so what they're asking us to do is you take this last name where it says Claiborne, and you just drag it here, right under the last name. And they want us to do the same for first name. Again, what they're trying to do is remove the redundant information. This stuff doesn't need to be repeated over and over again because it just looks messy. And so that now is step 5, and that's what they want us to do. Step 6, they want us to using the same report, filter the selection to display only the records with the account number 1118-435018, and then save and close the report. So in order to do that, what we do is we know that we need to filter by account number. So we're going to click inside the account number. And then if we go to the home tab at the top, we then have the ability to filter the data here. So we go home and then we click on filter. When we get to the filter, we're going to go to text filter, and we want it to equal the following number. So 1118-435018. So we got to be very, very careful here. Make sure we type it in accurately, and we're going to click OK. And at this point now, we should only see one account number, right? In your report, there's nothing else below. It's the one account number that we filtered the report on. At this point, they want us to save it and close the report. So we're done for this for now. Perfect. Now, step 7, this is referring to the label wizard, which is really a neat function. I've told my students that when trying to do this similarly in Microsoft Word, it was a huge hassle. In Microsoft Access, if you have a good database with good information inside, you won't run into any issues with that. So it's really cool. It says use the label wizard to create labels report based on the residence table. And the key thing here is based on, and we've talked about that before in forms and things of that nature. When you read based on, that means you need to select it first. So if it says it's based on residence, then what we need to do is we need to actually select it first. Then we can go to create at the top, and the labels button will be available. If you do not select your table first, what will end up happening is this labels option won't light up. It'll be grayed out. And that kind of forces you to think, oh wait, I should be selecting something first. Once we got that all good to go, I'm going to click labels. And it's going to take us through this wizard and it's going to say, okay, what product do you want to do? And the default product is C2160, which makes our life really easy because it's right there. It's the first thing that comes up. Sometimes you got to be careful between the English and the metric. Sometimes you're not paying attention. If you have a different installation on your machine, it may populate metric by default. So then just flip it to English, go to Avery, and you should find 2160. So that sometimes happens, and we might as well talk about it. So we got that. That looks good. I click next. It says to accept the default, so I'm just going to continue next. And here's where I'm going to start putting in the information that it's asking for. So what it wants is first name, a space. Be careful because in the instructions sometimes it's hard to see. There's a space. Then last name. And then on the second line, it wants us to do the street. And then below the street, they want you to physically type in Aspen, space Falls, comma, space CA for California, and then a space again. And at this point, you can double click zip and it will populate to the right of what you typed in. And so basically this is what they want us to do. Watch your spacing, make sure your typing is all done properly. You didn't miss anything. It says, again, continue through following, accepting all default settings and values. So I click next, next, and then it wants us to click finish. And there you have it. You've got your lovely labels report. If you had that kind of label from Avery, you could then go ahead and print this, and it'll print out on sticky labels, which you can put on all your envelopes and do your mailings. All right, so that's step 7. Nothing too crazy. They tell us to then close the report. All right, so we can click save if you want, and then close report, and we're done with that step. All right, step 8 now is taking us back a couple chapters. We're looking at queries here. And so basically what they've asked us to do in step 8 is to add criteria to the 2017 statistics query so that only records with a cycle date before January 1st, 2018, save and close the query. So basically we've got to go modifying it. To modify your query, again, just a little refresh, we can either double click it, open query, then go to design view, or sometimes we can just quickly go right click and then design view. At this point, we can then go in and make the mod that it's asking us to do. And so basically, this cycle date, we need to add a criteria. The criteria it's asking for is before. So we're going to go less than 0101, and let me double check the date, 2018. And so what we're going to do is we're going to check it to make sure it is doing what it's asking us to do. So we press that, press enter. It's going to format the date properly because it didn't like the extra zeros and whatnot, and that's fine. That's why the software is the software. But to make sure we didn't make a mistake, they don't ask us to run it, but we're going to run it anyway because we want to make sure. So we're going to click run, and you're going to confirm that all your dates are before 2018. Which they are. There's 12 records at the bottom. They're all before 2018. That looks good. I'll go back to design view just for the sake of it so you can have another look at the criteria. And at this point, they want us to save and close the query. So we're going to save it, and then we're going to close it. All right. So that's that. That's step 8, looking good. Step 9 now says use the report tool to create a report based on the 2017 statistics query that we just modified. It says save the report with the name 2017 usage report. Okay, so again, there's that based on, right? So when we see based on, we got to make sure that this is selected, and it is. So that's really good. And now it says to create a report based on it. So we're going to go create, and we're going to click on reports. It's not a blank one. It's not design view. It's actually reports. So we're going to click on this. And because we've selected the query before we click that button, it automatically creates the query the report for us based on the information found in the query. Now it says save the report with the following name. So I'm going to click on save, and it says 2017. Now they're giving you the query name, but we don't want that. It says 2017 usage and then report. Perfect. So once we make sure that we've spelt everything all right, click OK. So now we've got this report that we can work with. Step number 10 says, in this report, insert the logo file, such and such, that we downloaded with the instructions. All right, no problem. So we're going to click on this little folder looking thing. We're going to go to your logo. And it's at this point now, we've got to go and find the actual video. Or sorry, not video, the actual image files. And this one is found under Reports Grader. And you've seen this before at City Hall. Double click. Voila. It is now in there and it looks fantastic. And that gives us, let me see how many grades that gives us. Well, we still got another piece to it, but it's 8 marks for this. So we fixed the logo. The last part of this is change the information here. It doesn't like this. So we can double click up in here. And what do they want it? They want it to be called 2017 electricity usage. So they want this report to be called that instead of what it was given by default. I'm going to click outside of that once it's done. Perfect. Spelling looks good. Excellent. Now it's saying to, in this report, change the text of the count of cycle. So they want us to fix this because this doesn't look very good. If you were to print this report, it wouldn't look very good. So they want us to change this. So first of all, they want us to change this to, so double click, right? That makes things easy. Sample size. And then the last one here, double click. This one, they want us to call it average usage. Excellent. That's easy enough. That's 8 marks. Can't go wrong. We're going to fix this soon. I know you guys are wondering why it looks cut off and stuff, but we'll fix it in a minute. Not to worry. Step 12 says to center and bold those 3 columns at the top. All right, no problem. So we're going to click this one. Hold the shift button on your keyboard, click the next one, and click the next one. You can go home, and you can go bold, I think it said. I'm going to confirm. It says to bold the 3 columns and center them. All right, so center them. Perfect. And now you can see they're not cut off. They look really, really good. So that was step 12. Almost done this whole thing here. Actually, we're doing really well. All right, step 13 now. It says, while we're in the same report, set the alternate row color of the detail control to no color. All right, so basically, if you take a look at your alternate rows right now, they are gray. See them? Well, I mean, it depends on your screen, but they're gray on mine. So they're gray. They want this to be no color instead. And so to do that, what's very, very important, I'm going to click up here on the Design tab. What we are looking for is the property sheet. Remember, we've talked about this in the past, how very important the property sheet dialog box is. So we're going to go to Design, the property sheet. And what we can do at this point, if you read the question very carefully, it says, set the alternate row color of the detail control. So right now I'm set cycle date because you can see it's all yellow. If I go over here and I look for detail, see it right in the list, it will then make sure that everything is selected properly. Okay, so now I've got the right section, it looks good. And then I can go through my format tab here and I can find the alternate row color option. So once it's selected properly, click Format, Alternate Row Color, and then we go over to here, and the option it wants us to choose is no color. Some exercises will get you to pick a specific color, so on and so forth, but this one says no color, so I'm going to select it. And now there's no alternating row color, and that's what this one wants us to do. So that's step 13. Step 14 now, this is our last step before we close it off. It says in the usage report, so in the same report that we're in, it says delete the count total control below the cycle date column. All right. So this one here, they're talking about this. So we're going to click it and press delete. All right. So that's the first part of that. Then it says to add a sum total control to the sample size column. Okay. So basically, in order to add a sum here, you should select this first. Once you've selected this, what it's going to do is then going to allow you to go in and put an auto sum by clicking the totals button here. So on the design tab, you can click totals, but make sure you have the right column selected first before you go and do this. All right, so we're good. Sample size selected, design tab, totals, and then sum. And now I've got a sum of 24. Okay, looks all right. It's cut off a bit, but we'll fix it. The next one it tells us to do is then click over here and we want average. So we want to put this column into an average down here. So basically it says add an average total now. So we're going to go up here, click average, and it's 560.6, which again is cut off. No problem. The last part of this step says in the row with the two controls, the total controls, auto size the row height, save and close the report. Again, we're going to click here on either one of them really, and we're going to go on the top perimeter here, and we're going to double click to auto fit or auto size in the case of the instructions, but same thing. So basically on the perimeter, double click, and you should be in good shape. At this point, the last thing they want us to do, save and close the report. All right, so now that's step 14 out of the way. Step 15 at this point would ask you to then close everything else that might be open and then upload your file to MyITLab and to get it graded and see if you got 100%. Just remember, even if you don't score 100%, if you made a silly mistake or something didn't work quite right, no worries. You'll have more than one attempt to get it done. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you for your time in watching this video. I hope it was gave you good information and you feel a little bit more comfortable with reports. If you have any questions at all, leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thank you guys. Have a great day.